Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to dive into a really profound idea. What if there's a field of energy that connects everything in creation? And what if we have the power to consciously interact with it?
All right, let's start with a story to really get into this. A few years back, I was in the Sinai Desert, and I asked a Bedouin friend of mine, what he actually experiences during his daily prayers. His answer? Well, it was so simple, but it just hit me, right to my core. And I bet it's a feeling a lot of us have brushed up against in those quiet moments. He told me he feels connected to everything. Suddenly, the mountains don't feel so far away, and it's like he's right there with his wife, even though she was miles and miles away in Cairo.
Hearing him say that, it just sparked this vision in my mind, A living, breathing web of energy that links all of us, all of creation, together. Now, this isn't some brand new idea. It's a concept you can find in ancient traditions all over the world. The cool part is, modern science is actually starting to catch up, suggesting this web might be very, very real.
And scientists, they've actually given this web a name, the quantum hologram. The best way to think about it is like a cosmic internet where everything is connected. It's a theory from physics, and it suggests that because of this underlying energy field, something that happens in one place can instantly, and I mean instantly, influence something happening somewhere else, no matter how far apart they are. So that leads to a huge question. If this web is real, what role does our mind play in it?
Okay, but this is where it gets really wild. The idea that consciousness isn't just some random thing that happened in the universe, but that it's actually fundamental to it, well, that idea comes straight from the pioneers of modern physics. We're talking about a concept that completely flips our whole view of reality on its head.
To really get this, we've got to go back in time, over a century ago. Let's zero in on 1917. The father of quantum theory himself, Max Planck, is up on stage accepting his Nobel Prize. And he says something so radical, so groundbreaking, that it's still making waves in science today.
So you have Planck, right? A guy who dedicated his entire life to the clear-headed study of matter, and he stands up and basically declares that matter, as we think of it, doesn't really exist. He says that what we see as solid stuff actually comes from a force. And behind that force, he says, we have to assume there's a conscious and intelligent mind. And get this, he called this mind the matrix of all matter. So the big takeaway here is, look, if a conscious mind is the matrix of reality, that just begs the question, right? What mind? Or maybe whose mind? Could it be that our own consciousness, yours and mine, actually plays a part in this ongoing creation of the universe?
And that brings us to a really fascinating and kind of mysterious real-world example from the 1980s. I'm talking about the experiments with something called cold fusion. Now, this was supposed to be a revolutionary new energy source, a total game changer, but the results? They were just maddeningly inconsistent.
Then, one sharp physicist noticed this bizarre pattern. When the research team in the lab genuinely believed the experiment was going to work, it often did. But when the room was packed with skeptics, people filled with doubt, the experiments were way more likely to fail. It was almost as if the consciousness of the people watching was literally becoming a part of the experiment itself.
And this just brilliantly illustrates what the famous physicist John Wheeler was talking about. He suggested that our universe is a work in progress, and that we, as conscious observers, are actively helping to build it. Think about that. The simple act of looking, of observing, actually places something there for us to see.
All right, so if our consciousness can actually influence reality, how does that work? What's the mechanism? How are we connected to this matrix, this universal mind? Well, the answer is pretty staggering. It seems we might have direct access to the very forces that build our world.
So, modern science tells us that absolutely everything we see, from distant stars and planets all the way down to our own bodies, is built and held together by just four fundamental forces of nature. You've got gravity, the electromagnetic force, and then the two nuclear forces that work deep inside atoms. You can think of them as the master rulebook for the entire universe.
And here is the truly mind-bending part. There's a growing body of research that's exploring the idea that through the power of human emotion, we can consciously interact with at least three of those four forces. If that's true, it means we have access to 75% of the fundamental building blocks of creation, right here, inside of us.
It seems like ancient traditions understood this intuitively.
They made a really clear distinction between what we typically call prayer, which is, asking for something with our minds, and what they called communion. Communion is totally different. It isn't about asking for something. It's about feeling it in your heart, using that nonverbal language of emotion to experience an outcome as if it's already happened.
So, the question is, why is emotion so uniquely powerful? What is it about feeling that makes it the key to unlocking these cosmic forces? Well, the final piece of this incredible puzzle might just lie in the very structure of the universe itself.
Let's talk about superstring theory. It's one of the leading ideas in modern physics, and it suggests our universe isn't just the 3 dimensions we see every day. Nope, it proposes that reality is actually made up of at least 11 dimensions, with most of them just curled up way too small for us to ever see. And, according to the theory, it's inside these hidden dimensions that the universe's biggest secrets are revealed.
See, here in our 3D world, those 4 fundamental forces seem totally separate and distinct. But as physicists dig into the math of these higher dimensions, something amazing starts to happen. The forces begin to merge. They get closer and closer together until at the very highest levels, they actually become one single, powerful, unified force of creation.
And this is the ultimate connection, the language that speaks directly to that unified force, to the matrix, to what Planck called the mind of all matter. It isn't our thoughts and it isn't our words. It's the language of the heart. We're talking about genuine human emotion, gratitude, compassion, appreciation, love. These are the feelings that touch the very place where all of creation comes together as one. So, really, the takeaway from all of this is a powerful and very personal question. Knowing that you might just have the ability to speak the language of creation, to tap into the very forces that build entire worlds, what kind of reality would you choose to feel into being?